Hello friends, in the previous class we looked at some strategies to write effective sentences. Continuing our discussion, today we will look at vocabulary strategies. That means how we choose the most appropriate word for a given context and what are the common mistakes we do regarding choice of words and how we can avoid them. So, it is needless to say that choice of words is very important. If you want to convey whatever you have in your mind very effectively and in a brief manner, then your choice of words is very important. Also, you need to be careful and you need to maintain the appropriate mood or the tone. Say you are writing a movie review and you certainly want to hint that movie is not very great. You do not want to use words which very explicitly tell you that you do not like the movie. So, you have to maintain subtlety there. Say you are writing a formal mail, it is a sort of reminder, one of your clients hasn't made the payment yet. So, you want to be firm yet polite. So, there are such occasions where you need to maintain the appropriate mood and tone. So, this is possible when you choose words very carefully, and then you also use words in a very careful fashion so as not to cause confusion or which can lead to ambiguous interpretations. So, you say something, your readers interpret it in one particular manner, but that is not what actually you intend to say. So, all this confusion can arise because of wrong words. So, we will look at several aspects related to vocabulary in this class. First one is commonly confused words. Usually these are words which sound alike and as a result we tend to get confused and use one word actually in context where we should have used something else. So, let us look at some examples. Affect, effect. So, very similar sounding words, meaning is also very similar. So, one is verb, one is noun. So, there are lot of possibilities, lot of chances of confusion. Then look at there, they sound alike. So, many students get confused and they use this word when they actually wanted to use this word. Similarly, it's. So, pronunciation is very similar, but they are two different words. So, this one is possessive, something like I have a new bag, its color is red. So, then you use this. This is actually abbreviated form of it is. So, you can say we cannot go out, it is raining, then you will use this form. So, if you just Google, you will find a long list of such commonly confused words. You need to be very careful, do not get confused. If you are in doubt, consult a dictionary and choose the right word. Next aspect is choosing the right word when you have synonyms. So, in English we have many words with similar meaning, if not the same meaning. So, now there is a confusion. So, which word you choose? Let us look at some examples. So, look at this set: friend, pal, partner, comrade, buddy, being. So, all these are synonyms. Needless to say, there is some subtle difference, among these. They are not the words with the same meaning. Look at the second set: funny, entertaining, hilarious, laughable. Here again, these are all synonyms. So, you have to choose the most appropriate word depending on the context. Sometimes, some words are interchangeable, they do not matter much. So, if you use one instead of the other, but as we are going to see, sometimes there is very significant difference among these synonyms, and if you make a wrong choice, actually you convey a completely different sense. So, one is one strategy you can use is, instead of a general purpose word, you be more specific and accurate. So, you have a list of synonyms. So, one usually is a general specific word. Instead of that, you can choose something very specific. Look at these examples. These are all taken from various newspapers and magazines. So, to sound like a leader, think about what you say. So, in this sentence, the author has used the word say. So, say is more general word. Look at this: how can you assert your boundaries at work and avoid a toxic work environment? So, here the word is assert. So, this also has got something to do with saying something out aloud, and it also brings in some other layers of meaning. So, here there is a sense of very strong will, you are trying to be independent. So, you are a bit forceful. So, those things come here. So, for example, somebody else drops their work on you, then how do you say no? So, you have to be polite, but still firm, so that that kind of situation does not repeat. So, the word assert here adds some nuances. Look at this example: fact check, was Modi right to claim that the direct benefit transfer scheme was started by the NDA? So, look at the word here, it is claim. So, claim we use in the context of arguments. So, we know that you have an argument when a particular issue has multiple angles. So, multiple sides. So, you can only claim that something is true, or this is what the thing is, and you provide evidence to support what you are saying. So, here claim again adds different nuances to instead of simply saying say. Then you need to be careful about specific interpretations of words. One difference which you can observe among synonyms is, some are formal, some informal, some colloquial, some very slangish. Look at these examples: I couldn't make out what he said. So, make out here, I could not understand what he said. The word understand, they are synonyms, but the first one is more informal, second you can say is more formal. So, you need to understand these differences. Look at the second set. Are you afeard, my son? My little boy is afraid of his own shadow. What's the matter? Are you chicken? So, look at the words here which are in bold. They are again synonyms, but the contexts are very different. First one is very formal, probably you hear it in a religious sermon. Second is more common word, and third is very colloquial, very slangish, probably you hear it in peer groups. So, these contexts can vary, and therefore, you have to choose your words carefully. Say for example, you are writing a research article. So, there you cannot use informal words, something like for example, make out. So, that will be inappropriate. Say similarly, you are talking to your friends, you are deciding which movie to go or what to do over the weekend. So, then if you use very formal words, that also sounds very awkward. So, depending on the context, you have to choose the words. Then there are some words which are synonyms, of course, but there is positive connotation, there is negative connotation to those synonyms. Look at these examples. These examples again are from newspapers and magazines. So, from real life context. 5 reasons why Manchester City cannot emulate the Arsenal Invincibles this season. Did Kim Kardashian copy Demi Lovato's Halloween costume? Fans are calling the star out. Baidu's new system can learn to imitate every accent. Asked not to mimic PM Modi, Rahul Gandhi, comic Sham Rangila. So, here you can look at the words in bold. So, here all these are synonyms. So, there is something original, and you are sort of behaving like the original. So, there is some kind of copying, you can call it like that. But if you look at these words, some are positive, some negative, and some neutral. For example, in the first sentence, the word emulate is highly positive, has very high positive connotation. So, you say you emulate a great personality. So, if you behave like a great personality, it is actually considered a good trait. So, you just adopt somebody's practices which are considered highly desirable. So, therefore, here one team is trying to behave like the other team, which is considered good. So, therefore, you use the word emulate. So, this is a positive connotation. Did Kim Kardashian copy Demi Lovato's Halloween costume? So, here the word you can see copy has a negative connotation. So, you expect this person to be creative, to come up with own ideas, but you have behaved like somebody else, and here that is actually considered not desirable. So, therefore, the word copy is used, and this is definitely negative connotation. Okay. Look at third example. Baidu's new system can learn to imitate every accent. So, here you are speaking like somebody else, you are adopting some accent, but the word imitate is actually used in the context of artificial intelligence, robots, some kind of very mechanical thing. So, this is Baidu's new system. Here we are referring to artificial intelligence system. So, therefore, the word here we have used is imitate. So, you use imitate when there is not much of creativity is involved, not much of processing is involved, you are mechanically copying somebody or something. Look at the last sentence, asked not to mimic. So, mimic is here you talk like somebody else, but this has a different connotation. So, there is an element of fun and humor involved in this. So, if you just speak like somebody else, then does not become mimicry. So, you cannot call it as mimicking somebody. So, there is some amount of exaggeration, some amount of body language, exaggerated body language involved. So, this word has again a different connotation. So, when you have context, so you have many choices before you, you choose according to the context. Then we have something called collocation. So, in the previous cases we saw that the choice of word depends on that particular context. So, you want to convey something positive, you choose a word with positive connotation. You want to do not approve of something, so you use a word with negative connotation. But in some cases the word you use is actually determined by what we call its pair word. So, you won't have much choice. So, you will have to go by what we call collocation rules. So, what is a collocation? So, in English some words they are always used together, they always co-occur. Okay. Let us look at some examples. So, we say strong coffee, we say strong determination, we say strong figure. So, figure here refers to some statistics. So, we have got strong stats, strong figure about the growth of company, growth of economy. So, in those contexts, so we use the adjective strong. Something very similar is the adjective powerful, but we do not say powerful coffee, we say strong coffee. Why? So, that is your collocation. So, with the adjective powerful we say car. So, it is a powerful car, powerful engine. Then we say powerful figure, means figure here refers to a person. So, a powerful figure in in the politics of India. So, you are referring to a person. So, in such cases we use the adjective powerful. Another very well known collocation example is handsome and beautiful. So, we say handsome boy, handsome salary, but we say beautiful girl, beautiful song, beautiful lyrics. So, why this way? That is what we call collocation. So, you need to keep that in mind. So, particularly when you are using adjectives, adverbs with nouns, you have to make sure that they are used and the collocation patterns actually permit that. Otherwise, your language becomes inappropriate. So, for example, if you say powerful coffee, that is actually a bad example of language use. So, you need to keep in mind the collocation rules. So, if you go online, you will find many collocation dictionaries. print versions are also available. So, when in doubt you can consult such a collocation dictionary. Next aspect is what we call euphemism. So, euphemism basically means you have something unpleasant to say and you sugarcoat it. So, you do not say it bluntly, you use milder words, you tone it down. In some contexts, this is actually appropriate. Say for example, instead of saying so and so died, you can say so and so passed away. So, pass away is actually kind of euphemism to say somebody died. So, in some contexts, as I said, euphemisms are appropriate, but if you overuse it instead of the actual word, then that is considered a bad style. So, let us look at some examples. So, in some restaurants they say adult beverages, but what they mean to say is alcohol. So, they do not want to use the word alcohol. So, they have euphemism there, adult beverages. Similarly, euthanize, doctors might want to say put to sleep. Say for example, my dog was injured in an accident and so we had to put it to sleep. So, basically you mean to say you had to euthanize it. Similarly, sacking, dismissing, say company press statements. So, you are more likely to come across words like workforce imbalance correction. So, this is basically mean to say we are sacking some people. Then you do not have money. So, some people say have temporary negative cash flow. So, mean to say you have no money on you. Look at this example. My grandmother was called to her heavenly reward last winter. So, you mean to say your grandmother died last winter, but you have used a euphemism here. So, the next aspect is it is called malapropism. So, malapropism means you use inaccurate words, maybe because of similarity in pronunciation or spelling. As a result, you use words sometimes imaginary words and they are completely inappropriate. So, this word malapropism is derived from a character in the play The Rivals. There is a character called Mrs. Malaprop. In that play Mrs. Malaprop does this kind of mistake. She uses words which are completely inappropriate. Look at this example here. But the point which would request of you is that you will promise to forget this fellow. No, illiterate him, I say, quite from your memory. So, here the problem is with the word illiterate. Actually, the character wanted to use obliterate. So, remove somebody from memory. So, that is what the character wanted to use. This is the word obliterate, but because of similarity in pronunciation and you could not recall the exact word, the word used here is illiterate, which is absolutely an absurd word. Actually, you come across many such cases in real life as well. So, here are some examples from newspapers, from people's speeches. The doctor gave me a subscription for allergies. What you actually mean to say is prescription. So, this is a case of malapropism. Texas has a lot of electrical votes. So, this is from a speech. So, instead of electoral votes, here the person is saying electrical votes. This is unparalleled in the state's history. So, you probably want to say unparalleled in the state's history, but you have used something else. So, you need to be careful about malapropism. So, consult dictionary if you are in doubt, and use the words in a very careful manner. The next aspect is jargon. So, jargon basically refers to technical words. So, what is a technical word? So, words which are mostly limited to one particular field of study. So, words which are not part of everyday life. So, a common person would use it. So, it is not part of a common person's repertoire. So, it is used only by a small set of people. So, these are technical words, and you can also call it jargon. So, jargon itself is not bad. So, we have discussed research paper. So, there you have to use specific technical terms. You cannot use non-technical words, something a common person would use. So, you have to say something like, say you are working in the area of language, you have to say semantics, you cannot simply say meaning. So, such technical words you have to use, but when there is no need, then you should avoid jargon. So, if you overuse, then it becomes very awkward. Your readers do not understand what you are trying to say. Look at this. So, this, as I said, is technical vocabulary or idiom of a special domain, say language, physics, so chemistry. So, there are technical words, but if you overuse it, it is also an obscure and often pretentious language marked by a roundabout way of expression and use of long words. So, this is obscure, not very clear, it is pretentious and a roundabout way. Probably you do not want to say something in simple and straightforward manner, you want to hide something, you purposefully want to misguide people. So, therefore, in such context jargon is used. So, therefore, if there is no need, you should avoid jargon. Now, let us look at some examples. So, as I said, you use it in technical reports or reports where the audience is from the same domain, they can understand it, that is fine. But if it is general audience, you should avoid it, or if you use, you need to provide a glossary. So, look at some examples. So, using a word like conversate to mean talk, this is a clear case of jargon. Idea shower instead of brainstorming. Wrong side the demographic, you mean upset customers. So, you do not want to say it straight away. So, you are using jargon so that you are saying it, but people do not understand it. So, related to jargon is what we call wordiness. So, you have too many words, you have long words, when you could have used fewer and simpler words. So, it's a misconception to think that if you have complicated words or long words, you are actually a scholar. So, people think very high of you. So, that is not the case. Remember, an effective communication can happen when your audience, when your readers understand what you are saying or what you have written. So, if you fail to get that idea across, no matter how complicated words you used, how complex your language is, then it does not serve any purpose. So, these are all we call redundant words. Look at an example here. Responsible parents of today neither allow their children to have absolute freedom to do as they please, nor severely restrict their children's activities. So, here I have suggested you can remove some words. Of course, it depends on context. So, you can say responsible parents neither allow their children to have absolute freedom nor severely restrict their children's activities. So, you can remove some words. Look at some more examples. Last summer, I was engaged in the repair of automobiles. So, here this suffers from wordiness. You can simply say last summer I repaired automobiles. So, you can remove some words. So, here I was engaged in. So, this is definitely wordiness. So, you do not need it in this particular context. Look at next one. This is to bring to the notice of all the parents that children need to wear uniform to the school every day. So, see, this is part of a notice. So, here you can see that this part actually does not serve any great purpose. This is what you need to say. So, simply you can say attention parents, use that as a catching line, and then you say children need to wear uniform to the school every day. So, you can come straight to the point. So, this is simply wordiness, and this we find in emails as well. This is to inform you that you have to attend a meeting tomorrow. So, here you can come straight to the point and say you are required to attend a meeting tomorrow. You can remove so many words, you become very brief and to the point. So, if you have very longish sentence, wordiness, your actual message might get lost. So, people might just ignore it, or whatever you are trying to say may be misunderstood. So, you have to get straight to the point. There are some more examples. So, this is a clear case of redundancy. So, revert back, the word revert itself means reply. So, you do not need back here. Similarly, repeat, you do not need again. 7 p.m. in the evening, p.m. itself means evening. So, why do you need this? Suddenly and without warning. So, suddenly means without warning. So, why do you need this? Advance means move forward. So, you do not need again the word forward. So, in such way you can avoid redundancy. Use as fewer words as possible to get your message across. So, let us look at some more examples. So, as I mentioned earlier, using long abstract or technical words just to make your writing look dignified is not an effective strategy at all. So, look at these examples. the fish exhibited 100% mortality response. So, basically you want to say that all the fish died. So, look at it, there are so many words and it does not convey the actual message clearly. Let us look at one more example. We have been made cognizant of the fact that the experiment will be terminated in the near future. So, what basically you want to say is we have learned that the experiment will end soon. So, see here we have been made cognizant, will be terminated, in the near future. So, all these words you can replace with something more simple and something more straightforward. Okay. The next aspect is cliche. So, cliche is a word, an expression which has been overused and as a result has lost its value. So, if you use such words or expressions, they do not look good. So, that is a bad style. Note here, once upon a time these words, phrases were in use and they were highly valued, but over a number of years they have been overused. So, as a result we should avoid now these cliches. Look at examples. We talked about the situation and I advised him what I thought he should do, but at the end of the day it is his decision. So, this expression at the end of the day is a cliched expression, it means ultimately, finally. So, you can avoid it and think of something else. For example, you can use the adverb ultimately. So, that makes more sense. Look at another example. I am going to give it 110% and that is all I can do. So, 110% is again a cliche. So, instead of that you can simply say I will do my best, I will put in all my efforts. So, that is actually a better way of saying it. Look at this, this is an extract from a politician's speech. It makes people so incredibly angry when you are getting up early in the morning, working really hard to try and do the right thing for your family and for your community. You are paying your taxes and then you see people literally in a different galaxy who are paying extraordinarily low rates of tax. So, this word literally has become cliche. So, you actually mean to say you cannot actually believe that exists, but it exists. So, that is the sense you want to convey. So, instead of the word literally you can say it in a different manner. So, you can use other expressions. Next aspect and very important is avoiding sexist language. So, some of it we have already seen, something like using generic he to refer to both men and women, or using pronoun she with reference to some specific professions, for example, nursing. So, maybe once upon a time only women were nurses, but it is no longer the case. So, you should avoid such uses. There are some more things we need to keep in our mind. Let us look at these examples. Point number 1, you do not mention a person's appearance, personal details unnecessarily. So, say you are describing somebody, then fine. So, if the context demands, fine, but otherwise you do not give these details. Look at the examples. The beautiful sultry voiced clerk quickly filled the order. So, why do you need to give these details about the person's appearance, the voice? So, we definitely do not need it. Look at this example. Craig Helmond, husband of nationally known cardiologist Dr. Jennifer Helmond, won election to the Beale City Board of Education. So, why do you need to mention here this person? You are referring to somebody else here, Craig Helmond, and it has got nothing to do with his wife Dr. Jennifer Helmond. So, you definitely do not need to bring in these details here. Look at some more examples. After 8 years of attending college part time, Angelica Denham, a 3-time grandmother, was awarded a BS degree. So, here you can simply say, after 8 years of attending college part time, Angelica Denham, and if you want to focus on her determination, persistence, you can say something about her age, but this is little more personal, a 3-time grandmother. So, that detail here we do not need. Look at another example. The cute loan officer at the Godfather Finance Company is a real hit with the customers. So, this detail is definitely not needed. Also, here you in formal context, so you talk about a person's dedication, hard work, or a person's say communication skills. So, and not about such personal details, appearance and the voice, such very personal details we should not mention, unless the context calls for it. So, I have mentioned you should avoid generic he. There are some examples here. Each tourist must carry his passport all the time. So, why use the pronoun his? So, a tourist can be male or female. So, avoid it. If a collector wishes to find an out of print of book, she should try www.bibliophile.com on the web. So, you are assuming a collector is she. So, this is again problem. So, this is again sexist bias. So, these things you should avoid. Of course, English does not have a pronoun form which can refer to both men and women in singular. So, you can change the construction. You can sometimes it is okay to use the plural form they, their. Sometimes you can use he / she kind of expression, or you can completely avoid it. You can rephrase it. Say for example, you can say tourists must carry their passports all the time. So, you adopt different strategies. The key is not to sound monotonous, and definitely do not use such sexist language. Then use neutral occupational labels. So, for example, if you say chairman, chairwoman, so if you know the details, say that that person is a man, then maybe chairman you can use. But if you are talking in generic sense, then use something more neutral, something like chairperson or simply chair. Similarly, instead of policeman, you can say police officer. So, these labels you have to be careful. The next aspect is using figurative language. So, if you recall, when we were discussing description, we observed that you can use similes, metaphors, to make your language more lively and your description more attractive. But when you are using such figures of speech, you have to be very cautious. You should not say in a simile compare two completely dissimilar things, or your comparison should not be absurd. So, let us look at some examples here. Her smile flicked on and off like a sunbeam flashing momentarily through a cloud bank. So, you can see this is a good example of simile. So, what are the things being compared? Her smile, a woman's smile, a girl's smile, and sunbeam. So, what is the common point between these two things? Both flickering on and off. So, that is the point of comparison, and you have a good simile here. Let us look at another example. The field is a sea of deep dark green, a sea made up of millions of grass blended together as one. So, this is an example of metaphor. Here, what are the two things? Field and sea. Instead of saying this field is like a sea, you are straight away saying the field is a sea. So, what is the common thing? Made up of millions of grass blended together as one, just like as in a sea. So, several drops of water together it becomes one, and it is deep and dark green. So, there are some points of similarity, and using that you have here compared. So, you can here see that these appeal to people can associate with it, and therefore, it creates an effect. But sometimes your similes and metaphors can go horribly wrong. Let us look at some examples. Johnny is as blind as a bat. So, this is definitely inappropriate. So, one you are being very insensitive to disability, then you are also not being considerate towards animals, and this comparison does not appeal to people. This actually kind of makes people very feel sad. Okay. Look at the second example. Mary runs around like a chicken with its head cut off. This is again brings in very horrifying image in the minds of readers. So, this a chicken with its head cut off running around. So, that is a very bad comparison. The wind rustled through the trees like a herd of galloping horses. So, here, again comparison has gone wrong. You are comparing wind rustling through trees with galloping horses. So, what is the similarity there? The comparison simply does not come out as an effective one. Just like similes and metaphors, another figure of speech is overstatement. So, it means you exaggerate things. So, say if it is at level 1, you say that it is at level 10. So, you overstate things. This if used occasionally and with careful thought, it can become a powerful tool, particularly in sarcasm irony in such context. Otherwise, your style becomes too tedious and boring. So, let us look at some examples. So, as I said, it is effective when you use it sparingly for purposes of satire and irony. Here is an example from Mark Twain. There have been daring people in the world who claimed that Cooper could write English, but they are all dead now. So, here the Mark Twain is passing a comment on this person called Cooper's English writing skills. As you can see, this is highly satiric. So, there is lot of overstatement, you can see. So, there have been daring people. So, people need not be dare to say that somebody could write English. So, this is an exaggeration. So, daring is something like I ask you to go to a mortuary and spend a night there. So, that is then that calls for a lot of courage, but to say that somebody can write English, do you really need to be very daring? Definitely no. So, this is a clear case of exaggeration. And then look at the second part, they are all dead now. So, this is again highly exaggerated statement. So, overall it creates this very powerful effect of satire. So, instead of straight away saying this person Cooper does not know any English. So, here this overstatement does the job very effectively. But look at this example, this is from a newspaper. So, this is a very bad example of overstatement. Let us look at it. The American eagle will never, in the face of foreign threats, pull in its horns or draw back into its shell. So, probably the person here is trying to sound very patriotic and is referring to America's ability to overcome all kinds of problems, defeat its enemies and so on. But look at the language. The American eagle will never, in the face of foreign threats, pull in its horns or draw back into its shell. So, you can say that America will never yield to its enemies, but this is highly exaggerated and unfortunately it is not very effective. So, there is a problem with overstatement here. So, summing up, today we looked at vocabulary strategies. We saw that choosing the most appropriate word is very crucial, because English has several synonyms, is a language full of synonyms. So, you have many options. So, choosing the right word is very crucial. You need to keep in mind that some words are used only in formal contexts, some in informal contexts, some are considered very colloquial or slang. So, depending on the context, you have to carefully choose the words. Then there are some words which are neutral. So, you have no issues using them, but there are some words which come with very high positive connotation. So, you use them in context when you want to create a positive mood. Similarly, some words come with very high negative connotation. So, you use them only when you want to point out the deficiencies, problems in that particular context. So, say if you use a word with negative connotation when actually you want to appreciate somebody, then that is definitely a disaster. So, choose words very carefully. And then we looked at some problems with word usage, like for example, wordiness. You could have used just one word, but you have used 3-4 words. Then using jargon unnecessarily. So, when you need it, you use it, but you are addressing the general public, you actually do not need. So, then do not use highly technical words just to sound sophisticated. So, remember, using long complex words does not make your language sophisticated. The point is to communicate effectively. And then we looked at malapropism. So, you mean something, but you can say slip of tongue, you have used something else. So, sometimes this word is a highly imaginary word, it does not exist. So, you have to be careful. We also looked at collocation. So, some words, for example, adjective, noun, these combinations. So, there are some set patterns. So, these have been in use in the language, these have been accepted, and so we need to use them only according to such accepted patterns. Say we say strong coffee and a powerful car, you cannot say powerful coffee. So, you need to keep these in mind. And then we also looked at towards the end of this lecture figurative uses. So, it is okay to use figurative language like simile, metaphor, overstatement, but you have to apply a lot of sensibility, you need to keep several things in mind, so that your comparison does not become awkward, insensitive and inappropriate. So, if you follow these strategies, you can express a lot of information using as fewer words as possible. So, remember, in some contexts you have word limit. So, many people complain, oh, the word limit was just not enough, but if you choose your words very carefully, you can convey what you wanted to convey very effectively. Thank you.